Ta-da. So they can see what you're doing.
I know. You tell me that every week.
They can see. Till even before it does. Oh, it's going to go later. Oh, there we are.
Hello, this is George.
And Bonnie.
And this is Adonai's Sanctuary Truth Classroom, coming from the cone of the hurricane. Adonai is watching over us. I know that. We're going to talk about, what are we talking about tonight?
Numbers 20.
Numbers 20. Well, I wrote something this week, and you're going to hear it later on, about 2 or 3 books later. But I thought I'd read this tonight. It's kind of interesting as far as I'm concerned. It is wise to identify your spots. Spots that may cause us to turn to our temptations. Those spots may be the weakest part of your life. People, now that includes us. People need to set up a strategy to defeat or at least overcome those bad temptations in your life. Yes, it's wise to develop your own strategy to identify those temptations, but that's only the beginning. You need to overcome your relationship and associations with those temptations. Whether it be people, friends, relatives, preachers, priests, rabbis, teachers, churches, synagogues, denominations, even religions that patronize your slapping Adonai and Yeshua in the face for any reason. So people, be wise. The only one you can really ever save or not is you. That's just off the top of my head. See? Don't stay up there very long. Anyway.
Hey, Ann.
Numbers
from Kentucky, she said.
Numbers 20. Why do I have this one on there?
Oh, because you finished 19. You were going to end.
Oh, yeah. Remember last week? My last sentence? It was, now they're back in Kadesh, and everything is and will be great. Remember that? I said, you'll probably hear that again. Well, maybe not as great as one might think. In some cases, not even good. My sweetie's going to read 20, verse 1.
The people of Israel, the whole community, entered the Tizan desert in the first month, and they stayed in Kadesh, where Miriam died, and she was buried. And there she was buried.
They're in Kadesh. Well, last week we said everything's going to be great. Joseph's sister Miriam dies there. She also never made it to the promised land. Did the Hebrews say, hey, we just saw what happened to our parents who rebelled and complained, so let's toe the line and listen to Adonai through Moses and Aaron? People, let's find out just how much studying we need to do to find out. Read 2 and 3, please.
Because the community had no water, they assembled themselves against Moses and Aaron. The people quarreled with Moses and said, we wish we had died where our brothers died before Adonai. Here we go again.
That didn't take long. Sound familiar? It does sound familiar, doesn't it? We wish our death would have been when our relatives died before Adonai. Why? Okay, read 4, please.
Why did you bring Adonai's community into this desert? To die there, we and our livestock?
Now I remember why I wrote why.
Oh, there's more whys.
Here we go again. Like it was Moses and Aaron's idea to wander for those 40 years. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to take off and just set out for sail and wander for 40 years. I'm sure that's what they were hoping. Talk about not seeing past their own noses. Read 5, please.
Why did you make us leave Egypt to bring us to this terrible place without seed, figs, grapevines, pomegranates, or even water to drink?
Why, again, why did you, Moses? He didn't say that, but that's who they're asking. Why did you, Moses, make us leave that beautiful lifestyle we had in Egypt? We had food and water there. Can you just see Moses and Aaron throwing their hands up in the air and saying to each other, you know where we have to go, don't you? Read 6, please.
Moses and Aaron left the assembly, went to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and fell on their faces. And the glory of Adonai appeared to them.
Here's a question. Do you think Moses ever thought, why did I ever ask Adonai to spare these hypocrites? If he ever did, it must have been in those 40 years that we have no records. We have no records of him ever, of what went on in those 40 years, really. But according to Numbers 6, they went to the entrance of the tent of meetings, fell on their faces, and Adonai's glory appeared. Adonai says to Moses, 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 Moses. Read 7 and 8, please.
Adonai said to Moses, take the staff, assemble the community, you and Aaron your brother, and before their eyes tell the rock to produce its water. You will bring them water out of the rock and thus enable the community and their livestock to drink.
Now, here's something you're going to have. We can't do all the thinking. We're going to ask you to do a little thinking here. He said, take your staff. We have often wondered, why did Adonai say, take your staff with you? We could speculate why and guess why. But we have a hard time with those who speculate about the changing of names to make themselves look smarter, better, or more convincing to a bunch of followers. So we can't make up something for you to follow, well, to follow yourself to hell. Verse 8 does say, tell the rock to bring water, to water their livestock and themselves. What a sight it was going to be. Water gushing out of that rock, enough to water this whole community and their animal. Moses, you might say, seems to be getting a little excited.
Alda said, not my strong stuff. You said you have to think.
Oh. Moses seems to get a little excited. Read 9 and 10, please.
Moses took the staff from the presence of Adonai as he had ordered him. But after Moses and Aaron had assembled the community in front of the rock, he said to them, Listen here, you rebels. Are we supposed to bring you water from this rock?
After studying 9 and 10, Alan, you put something up there a little after that, but it disappeared.
Oh, no, it just says laugh out loud. He
put something else up there and then it disappeared.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, Alan. We didn't catch that second one. But anyway, after studying Numbers 9 and 10, we noticed something that jumped off the page at us. Read 10 again, please.
But after Moses and Aaron had assembled the community in front of the rock, he said to them, Listen here, you rebels. Are we supposed to bring you water from this rock?
I never noticed that before. After calling them rebels, what does Moses say? Are we supposed to bring you, let me say that again, are we supposed to bring you water from this rock? For some reason, I went back to Numbers 20, 2 through 13, and went over that a number of times. This time we saw what was the statement that caused Adonai to be agitated at both Moses and Aaron. And I even emphasized it when I read the first part. Are we supposed to bring water from this rock? That's what Moses asked the people. Yet Adonai told Moses to take his staff, knowing that is what Adonai had said to do. Yet he said, "Listen, you rebels. When you study that saying, it seems to show the frustration coming from Moses himself. Then what would seem Moses let his frustration overtake him? Almost like in anger, he did what? Read 11, please.
Then Moses raised his hand and hit the rock twice with his staff. Water flowed out in abundance, and the community and their livestock drank. Put your paper down. It's not in the picture.
She won't let me do that. Moses raised his hand in direct defiance of what Adonai had just instructed him to do and hit the rock twice. He didn't speak to the rock. What was the big deal? By Moses striking the rock, it would seem Moses was the one who made the rock produce water. Remember when it says, what's that one part? Are we supposed to? By speaking to the rock, the power would be shown it came from Adonai, not by Moses, Aaron, or that staff. We believe it wasn't that he was just defiant. It was a matter of, is the power coming from Adonai or one of those two? Remember back in Shemot, or Exodus 17, verse 6. Read that, please.
I will stand in front of you there on the rock of Hebron. You are to strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so the people can drink. Moses did this in the sight of the leaders of Israel.
That time he was supposed to strike the rock. Only this time, like Ellen just said on there, he got frustrated, like we said, and struck the rock more out of frustration. I don't think it was defiant. I don't care what you want to call it. When I looked at it, I read it, I remembered what preachers have preached my whole life, that he was defiant and he struck the rock twice. Well, he struck the rock out of frustration because of the imbecilic way that the Hebrews were actually acting.
Mm-hmm.
There Moses was to strike the rock in 17:6. Out of his frustration with those Jews, out of his anger because of their complaining, he even called these people right now, the ones who he often bent over backward to protect from anger toward them by Adonai, he called them you rebels. Out of that frustration, that man with Adonai called struck the rock twice. Really, the only thing we have ever been told is that Moses was defiant to God. But you have to read that whole thing and see why he was a little frustrated. Yes, Ann. Ann says she would be a little frustrated too. Was defiant towards God is the only thing we ever heard about. Towards God's command. Now you can believe that like we did for decades. Or you can study that whole section of Adonai's letter to humankind and maybe see, well, you might see like we see, that it was because of his frustration towards the defiance of the people, because instead of listening, following, and even believing Adonai and all the blessings that have been given to them already, they showed their frustration. They showed how little faith they had. Now, people, before you chastise the children of Israel, think about this. For how long did you follow an imitational Messiah's name? Because we listen to society. If you if you make the excuse, no. If you listen to our spirit, now this is somebody talking. Right? Now I see why I'm a little confused here. For how long did we follow an imitation Messiah because we listened to society? We did it for decades. If we make the excuse, no, if you listen to our spiritual leader, whose responsibility it is, if you were too lazy to hunt for the truth, they may even have guided you, instructed you, led you, but where you end up is totally up to you, not them. That makes sense? I know I had a few pauses in there. An imitational Messiah will only get you an imitational salvation. No preacher, priest, or rabbi teacher has ever told you that truth, yet that truth just may be one of the, if not the, most important understandings that come from Adonai himself. But like Moses, do you want to strike that rock of Adonai's instead of speaking to it? To receive the water from Yeshua. That's kind of an interesting way of putting it. I'm glad you did that.
Not me.
Remember when we made the statement by using By using the staff, it would seem that the people would think that was from Moses, not Adonai. Read Numbers 20, verse 12, please.
But Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust in me, so as to cause me to be regarded as holy by the people of Israel, you will not bring this community into the land I have given you. I have given them. Sorry.
Did you hear that? People, did you hear what she said? Read that first part of 10 again.
But Adonai
Or
said,
12, I mean.
Sorry, but Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust in me.
You, Moses, didn't trust me. Instead, you disobeyed my instructions because of your frustrations, and the Hebrews are not looking up, knowing I did it. No, you got the credit, Moses, not Adonai. The preachers, priests, and rabbi teachers should tremble every time they teach or use as a sermon that section of Adonai's word. Those who, like Moses, look for that staff to show they are in control. When they strike your rock, will it be just like Moses? You never getting the reward that is laid out in front of you or them. Scary. But when you study it, that is so true. The interesting thing is, even if your preacher, priest, rabbi, teacher is like Moses, there still is time for you, just like it was for the children of Israel. They made it to the promised land without their leader. That comes later. But don't rebel against Adonai. Don't rebel against Adonai's new messenger, who tries to bring out the glory and truth of Adonai, not man's truth, or you just might end up listening to a bunch of feel-good sermons, uplifting songs that makes you warm in your soul, waiting for hell. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Don't jump for every new messenger coming along until you study what he says with what the true word of Adonai says. It's easy to be swayed, but so much more rewarding when you find truth. New messengers are a dime a dozen, while a true messenger will be one of a kind. Read Numbers 20, 12, and 13, please.
You only read 12 again, right? That's what I'm going to do.
Yep, read Numbers 12 and 13.
But Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust in me, so as to cause me to be regarded as holy by the people of Israel, you will not bring this community into the land I have given them. This is Meribah spring, or disputation, I can't ever say that word right, spring, where the people of Israel disputed with Adonai, and he was caused to be regarded as to them as he was caused to be regarded as holy by them. Ugh. Read the right words.
Moses and Aaron will not take the people into the promised land because you did not trust me. Remember, people, that's why they didn't go into the promised land. That Adonai stated many times he gave them. After Moses and Aaron got that shocking news that neither would enter the promised land, Moses goes into action. Numbers 14 through 17, please.
Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. This is what your brother Israel says. You know all the troubles we have gone through, that our ancestors went down into Egypt We lived in Egypt a long time. The Egyptians treated us and our ancestors badly. But when we cried out to Adonai, he heard us, sent an angel, and brought us out of Egypt. Now here we are in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your land. We will not go through your fields or vineyards, and we won't drink any water from your wells. We will go along the king's highway, not turning aside either to the right or to the left, until we have left your territory.
His people were the descendants of Jacob, called the Israelites, while Jacob's brother Esau's descendants became the Edomites. So Moses explains to their relatives, we only need to go through your land, and he might as well have said, I guarantee you we will not disturb anything you have. We will stay on the king's highway until we are out of your territory, if that's okay with you, relative. And his relative says, no. Read 18 and 19, please.
But Edom answered, you are not to pass through my land. If you do, I will come out against you with the sword. The people of Israel replied, we will keep to the highway. If we do drink the water, either we or our livestock, we will pay for it. Just let us pass through on foot. It's nothing.
This king of Edom, high and mighty, might as well have said, I don't care if you are some distant relative. If you go through our land on the king's highway, I will put on the swords, or we will put on the swords, and attack you. The children of Israel states, if our cattle drink any of your water, we will pay for that water. They're still trying to convince him. Just let us pass through. It's so much easier and shorter. Nothing else. That's all we want to do is pass through. The king still said no. Then tried to scare the people by showing them his strength. I'd turn the page. Read 20 and 21, please.
But he said, you are not to pass through. And Edom came out against them with many people and much force. Thus Edom refused to allow Israel passage through its territory. So Israel turned away.
So Israel turned the other way. They didn't want to fight. The people arrived at Mount Or. Well, read 22 and 23, please.
They traveled on from Kadesh, and the people of Israel, the whole community, arrived at Mount Or. At Mount Or, by the border of the land of Eden, Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, 22 and 23, I almost kept going.
Mount Or, you're on the border of Eden. Something is going to happen. They're on the border of Eden, but they didn't go into it. When they're at Mount Or, H-O-R. And something's going to happen. Read 24, please.
Aaron is about to be gathered to his people, because he is not to enter the land I have given to the people of Israel, insomuch as you rebelled against what I said at the Meribah spring.
Strike one. Aaron is going to die here on Mount Or because he rebelled against me. And here is what you, Moses, are supposed to do. Read 25, please.
Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, bring them up to Mount Or. Remove 25 and 26, right? 25 and 26.
Mm-hmm.
Remove the garments from Aaron and put them on Eleazar his son. Aaron will be gathered to his people. He will die there.
Take Aaron up to Mount Or. Bring along his son Eleazar. I have something for you to do there. your brother Aaron will die there. Now, telling a brother that his brother's going to die there, take him along, take his son along with him. Take the sacred garments off of Aaron. He won't need them anymore, and put them on Eleazar. Why? Because Aaron, your brother, will then die right there. It's kind of interesting how we stated that.
Mm-hmm.
Moses was told all this before it happened. Read 27 and 28, please.
Moses did as Adonai had ordered. They went up onto Mount Horeb before the eyes of the whole community. Moses removed the garments from Aaron and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down the mountain.
What Adonai had told Moses, actually what would happen, happened. Just like what Adonai said earlier. Aaron, your brother, is going to die on the top of that mountain, just like Moses was told. It seems Moses didn't plead for Aaron's life like all those times he did for the children of Israel. That's kind of strange. You would have thought that he would have pleaded for them. But he realized they had to pay the price. Just like the people of today. But anyway, we'll get to that later on. My sweetie's going to read 29.
When the entire community saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned Aaron 30 days, the whole house of Israel.
Then Moses and Eleazar came down the mountain, and the people mourned their religious leader's death, their high priest, for 30 days. That's what they're supposed to do. Here's an interesting but disturbing footnote in one of the Bibles. So I went through about 8 of them. It said Aaron died probably because of the sin of rebellion. Now, why should that disturb me? Because in Numbers 20, verse 12, read that, please.
But Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust in me.
Because you didn't trust me is the reason you will not go into the promised land. And in Numbers 20, verse 24, 20, verse 24.
Aaron is about to be gathered to his people because he is not to enter the land that I have given the people of Israel, insomuch as you rebelled against what I said at the Meribah spring.
But in verse 12 it said, because you didn't trust me, he's going to die. In 24, and why? So how could you, so-called biblical scholars, write that probably was the cause, which makes no sense in trying to get the people to understand Scripture? Let's make up our own. There's absolutely no probability to it. We have no idea what those so-called biblical scholars are trying to do to the ending of Numbers 20. That's a mystery to us. But as you look in 20 verse 12, it says, because you didn't trust me. And in 24 it says, what does 24 say? One more time.
Aaron is about to be gathered to his people, because he is not to enter the land I have given to the people of Israel, insomuch as you rebelled against what I said at the Meribah spring. So what? You.
Who's the
because
you? Because
you rebelled.
You're talking about Moses and Aaron? Interesting. But why would those biblical scholars, try to convince people one way or another when the Scripture says because you didn't trust me. Was it a rebellion? Was it, how did that, wasn't it a defiant? Doesn't sound like it. It says that they didn't trust in just speaking to the rock. Interesting. Puts
Always a lot of tidbits. Good tidbits.
puts a lot of what my sweetie just said, puts a lot of tidbits into what Scripture says, and a lot of understanding what the Scripture says and how you're not supposed to take our word for it or take your preacher's word for it unless you study to find out what the truth really is. Now, if you read it and you believe it like your preacher says, then you don't need to watch this program. Because in most cases, the preachers are going by what they've been taught in some school, what they've been told their whole life. And I'd say 75 at least percent of the time, it doesn't line up with what the Scripture says. They put their own 2 little cents worth in. And enough 2 little cents worth makes a dollar that causes a lot of trouble. But that's our tidbit for tonight. And we're here with Milton, the hurricane.
Yeah.
And it's going to go south. Our sanctuary is going to be still standing. Adonai is good.
All the time.
All the time. Hope you have a great week. If you know anybody that really wants to find out truth, tell them about the program on Tuesday night. Tell them about the book we wrote. We got another one coming out. We don't like to push our books. We don't want to spend 20 minutes talking about the books. But they're really interesting and useful. Y'all stay safe. Love you too.